but that's what the PHP is doing, all the backend and frontend. So I keep only my backend
Essentially, yes.
and pull with and pull on demand my content
Exactly, 100%.
on the fly.
My formalization, my structure is there based on the patterns I'm seeing everyone else doing and what I think is the average development. You don't have to take it as concrete, hey, it has to be this way. My goal of that paper and my process was described, hey, based on every single workflow in every single industry, this format seems to be a good methodology in which to implement it. But at the core of it, the reason I formalized all of it is I notice when someone like you, as long as you can route where it is, you know more about your information than anyone else will, even myself. And I also believe that the human should be in the compute layer. I think the argument that agents are replacing people forgets the fact that humans are infinitely abstracting creatures.
I'm a human.
Not to say that jobs are not being lost, all of this jazz, but I think we are able to take technology that has collapsed extremely complicated processes and do more complicated processes on top of it.
I love complications.
You explain kind of this idea of PFE. If the back end is farther away and you're just kind of saying, hey, it's almost like the AI becomes your run. It's almost like the AI becomes your.
What? What just happened there? Oh.
That kind of gets you in a better mind state for that. Obviously, there's still a little bit of extra work that needs to be done there, and that goes into the first question.
Did you just say extra work?
Is your time
more
valuable spent on something else in your business, and you offload this to someone else? Or is this valuable enough for you to do yourself that then it will return that value? Because that's a question I tell a lot of people to ask. Yes, all of us can use AI and can build with AI and should be using it to a certain extent, but do you build, right? You said you have an IT guy. Why would you?
No, not anymore. Unfortunately, not anymore. I would need one. I thought I need one.
Let's do this. Come on, give me something to react to, please.
Little t trauma is something good that should have happened to you but didn't. It's neglect. Your needs weren't met. You weren't accepted. And over 80% of people have it. I have to learn to please mom and dad so they'll take care of it. So I will be whatever they want.
Mom and dad at age 43. Mom and dad hurt me, mom and dad. What do you mean, mom and dad? We cannot keep blaming our mom and dad. I'm a traumatized cookie. Come on.
Want me to be. I'll take care of their emotions. I'll take care of their needs. I'll suppress my needs and sacrifice. But what's happened underneath? I don't think I'm worth loving. I think I have to earn my love, and I think everybody that gets to know me will reject me. So I have to hide. I have to wear masks. I can't be authentic. What happens in the child is this massive fear of abandonment.
But no children are watching this, mate. We're not children unless we're doing the inner child work. Can we do inner child work? I love inner child work, you know? I love embracing my inner child. I love petting my I love caressing my inner child.
That if people get to know me, they're going to eventually see the real me and abandon me. So now
I concur.
Now I either have to control you, be super needy, test you all the time, and so that sets up relationships to fail. So you
ouch.
Create the very thing you're trying to avoid. The whole childhood roles has been broken down into 4 kind of main roles. The hero child usually is the one that gets validated quickly for being responsible, for conforming to the rules. Number 2 is the comedian. Their response is to get everybody to like, always be light and funny. Number 3 is the invisible child or the lost child.
I think I'm number 2. Let's keep it honest. Let's not try to be a jackass, okay? let's give this a chance, okay? Because I just want to be, I want to have a healthy life.
Child. They're the one that says, I'm going to become super small so that I'm never a burden. The fourth one, the scapegoat or the problem child, they're the only one that refuses to go into denial. Most people with complex trauma don't know who they really are because they've been wearing masks for so long that they don't even know their identity.
So how do you go back to that authentic self? Hi everyone, and welcome back to today's episode. Super excited to introduce today's guest, Tim Fletcher. Tim is a researcher and counselor with over 30 years of experience specializing in the field of addiction and complex trauma recovery. He also has a YouTube channel with over 400.
I've been listening to Tim for a long time, and I can confirm everything that is said here about Tim, Mr. Tim.
100,000 subscribers, which is how I discovered him. Tim, thank you so much for taking the time and being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I want to start by asking you, what is complex trauma and what are the effects that, it has on us as adults?
Well, that's
That's a big
such an
one.
important question, but the answer is quite a big answer, Francesca. So let me just kind of lead into it this way. I think where a lot of people get hung up is with the word trauma. And they still are using kind of the old definition, the original definition of trauma, which came out of kind of the war stuff, PTSD, and it really, trauma got defined as what we now call big T trauma, some horrific event that's not normal, that happened to a person that was just overwhelming, and so they had to go into fight or flight or freeze. So there definitely is an element of trauma that is big T trauma. But what we've come to realize is that the majority of trauma is actually what we now call little t trauma, and over 80% of people have it. And so if you think of big T trauma, it's something terrible happening to you. Little t trauma is something good that
I don't mean to be like that. Something about me, I just denied. I just have denial with this stuff. But here's the funny thing. I'll use it amazingly when it's convenient to me. When it's convenient to me to use the word trauma, for example, you can shelf it and dismiss it. But when you need the word trauma to be present in your, for example, it's a great crutch. Don't talk to me about that. I have trauma on that issue. And don't do that. That gives me trauma.
that should have happened to you but didn't. So it's invisible trauma, it's neglect.
And now there's covert trauma, there's complex trauma, and there's toxic trauma, all kinds of trauma. So, but Tim Fletcher does amazing work in this field. Amazing, I must say.
It's something, your needs weren't met, you weren't able to connect, you weren't accepted, you weren't given healthy validation, you're constantly criticized. Parents weren't emotionally available, so your needs weren't met. So it's not like anything bad happened to you, it's that good that should have happened to you didn't. And that's what makes it kind of invisible. But if you think of it,
you know what the problem is, and it's so every time I listen to this kind of thing, I really believe that I become a part of me becomes angry at my caregivers, and that is just anti-social. At this age, I need to come together with my mom, and I need to give her my love and all that. There can be no resentment. There can be none of that. And this is the kind of thing that harbors that just by keeping on when you hear the words you weren't necessarily violated, but you just weren't given the good, healthy nuggets that are useful in optimizing and growing your beautiful self into a beautiful flower. And then you hold on to that, and it just becomes a little. It's a seed that grows. Next time you talk to your mom on the phone, you have that seed grow, and you have a little bit of that little echo in the back of your head saying, "You weren't given good nuggets."
Child, where that either, so complex trauma is, it's based out of math where you have simple numbers and complex numbers. So we have one-time events called simple trauma, ongoing events or ongoing dangers called complex. So complex trauma, ongoing danger can be made up of big T and little t trauma. For most kids, it's a blend, but the majority is usually little t trauma. So if you picture a child, what happens to them when they're neglected or abused? So big T or little t trauma in an ongoing way, and or they pick up that mom's not safe, dad's not safe, their gut's saying dad's anger makes it so I can't connect with him, mom's just emotionally withdrawn, I can't connect with her, this isn't a safe.
Mommy, I'm angry at you after all these years.
Place is normally when you're in danger, you go to fight or flight. But what happens with a child is I'm too little to fight and I'm too little to run away. So they go into two other F's. They either go to freeze, which is I can't escape to an external world, so I'm going to go into an internal world where I feel safe. So I'll go into staying busy all the time or a fantasy world, all of those different things, just where I feel safe. But the problem with a little child is I still need mom and dad to meet my needs because I'm not big enough to meet my needs. So they have to go to the fourth F, fawn. I have to learn to please mom and dad so they'll take care of me. So I will be whatever they want me to be. I'll take care of their emotions. I'll take care of their needs. I'll suppress my needs and sacrifice. And hopefully they'll take care of me. So those are adaptations that a child is making. But if you think of a child that adapts by fawning, so they learn to be a hero, they fix everybody else's problems, they never say no, they're super responsible, they give. They're high performing, they work hard, they get validated for that. This is an amazing person. They go, you don't have any problems. You are the healthiest persons I've ever seen. But what's happened underneath? I don't think I'm worth loving. I think I have to earn my love, and I think everybody that gets to know me will reject me. So I have to hide. I have to wear masks. I can't be authentic. I then have to learn to not trust people because they always let you down. I have to learn how to manipulate people to get my needs or be in control because I can't just come out and ask people. So you got two kind of
Whoa, that stings. Ouch.
the things going on inside of them that 30 years later they go to get into an intimate relationship and they go,
oh, ouch. My woman is in a mental asylum as we speak.
why am I struggling so much? The things that everybody validated me for now are causing my relationships to break down. And the things that I had to do to survive, like lying and not trusting and manipulating, are messing up my relationships and keeping them from being healthy. So to me, one of the sad parts of complex trauma is the adaptations a child has to do to survive that worked in helping them survive. There's a delayed negative effect of 20, 30, 40 years where all of a sudden you realize that.
I caught myself going like this. You see what happens? You just go along with it.
adaptation that I thought was good is actually bad. It's a maladaptation. And it's preventing me from healthy relationships and a healthy life. But because I don't realize that till 30 years later,
I'm fucked.
I don't automatically go back to, I wonder if there's something in my childhood that's causing this. I just go, oh, I married a jerk, or oh, my job's just too stressful. That's the problem. And so we don't naturally look to complex trauma stuff in childhood as the root issue when there's problems 30 years later. And so that's why for a lot of people, they go to doctors and psychiatrists to get band-aids on symptoms, but they don't really ever get to understanding what took place in my core when I was 5 years old.
What I should do really is like go around with this thing, go outside, and then talk to people like in this kind of format. I really think so. It'd be amazing. Get numbers of ladies like this, because now it's a whole new world. It's a whole new world. A world where things can be so manic. Where the manicness in me is allowing me to be at peace with a certain vibe. The vibe, I say. The vibe. The vibe of having this right up to your face and not giving a rat's ass. Naughty. I was naughty just now, the way I said that.
All of that stuff is happening.
Absolutely. And when you mentioned escaping into fantasy, for instance, I'm curious, what would that manifest like as an adult?
That would manifest as sitting on the bed or laying on the bed with a MetaQuest 3. I just got a message.
I think it can go in a whole bunch of different ways. So another way to just broaden it a little bit. So what is happening when a child escapes inward, so they go to freeze response, is there's really a dissociation taking place.
The problem is I sweat, and I don't want to be a sweaty pig on this thing, you know? I'm trying to like have up Francesca's approval, her admiration as well. A whole new world.
Place from the present. So to them, the most dangerous place to be is in the present.
Go.
The safest place to be is anywhere but present in the present. So they are always escaping being present in the present. So they can do that through being busy all the time, constantly organizing, constantly working, constantly playing video games, watching TV, anything that keeps them distracted from being in the present. But they're also not present to themselves because they think they're not worth loving. They're must be a pretty bad person. So they're kind of escaping their own thoughts and feelings. So one of the greatest punishments for a person with complex trauma is to be in a quiet room all alone by themselves with nothing to do, because then they'd have to live in their own skin, which to them is torture. So that's one form of dissociation. But then more extreme forms is people can actually kind of like out-of-body experiences where they go, they're being sexually abused and they can be on the ceiling looking down.
Schizos.
Down as if it's happening to somebody else, or they can be on a beach in the Mediterranean and just be totally out of their body. So they're not present in the present. But then some escape into a fantasy world. So they love TV and books. So they love good things that use their creativity and their imagination. But now they create this world that's safe, where everybody loves each other, where they are loved and respected. And that's where they start to go to, because they watch enough TV, maybe this can happen in real life. So they start to believe their fantasies are possible realities for them. And that gives them hope. So they fall in love. What happens? It creates fantasy feelings. They go to a fantasy world. They hope Mr. Knight in shining armor is going to make me totally happy and we're going to have a happy thereafter. And they chase that fantasy. And so fantasy or dissociation can happen in all aspects of life. But the fantasy part often happens when they're facing a new relationship, a new job, a new move, is your brain goes to, let's imagine, perfect outcome. That gets rid of the fear, that gets rid of the unknown, that gives us excitement. But it's often very unrealistic. It's not based on reality, it's based on a bunch of lies. And so it always lets them down.
A bunch of lies.
Very interesting. And you
Why?
talked about
Why lies? Why? In my case, why lies? Why? I wonder. What have I lied about?
some signs that complex trauma has on us as adults, and I saw one video of yours. You were talking about how you can even see it in someone's eyes. Can you tell me what are some signs that you can immediately see in someone?
Well, we've, over my years of kind of working with clients and talking to them and researching this, we've come up with 90 different ways complex trauma affects your brain, your body, your emotions, your immune system, your relationships, how you cope. It affects every area of life. So all of those maladaptations. So if you just think of the child that is neglected.
But I have contact lenses. That changes things. If I have contact lenses, right? If I have contact lenses, that means that my eyes are not giving a proper read, right?
Neglected or abused, and they conclude it must be my fault. So they begin to develop a core belief that I'm not good enough. So we call that shame, and that's really one of the core
I'm good enough
characteristics of complex trauma. So a child in a healthy home that's loved unconditionally and accepted, they go, I have value, I am lovable. It's a very positive self-identity. Complex trauma, where you're neglected and abused, you develop a negative self-identity. Anybody that gets to know me authentically is going to reject me. I can't connect with anybody being authentic. I have to be somebody else. I'm not lovable. I have to earn love. So all of those messages begin to affect the core. So if you meet somebody with deep shame, often you look into their eyes right away and they can't maintain eye contact. You can see the shame in their eyes. So that's that piece. And then for many people, what happens if you look at complex trauma is the child is adapting to try to get love, to try to get their needs met. So they're being this hero, they're being a perfect child, never saying no. But then it starts to spread. So they begin to go, in order for mom and dad to be happy with me, I have to have only one emotion. I got to be happy all the time. If I show sadness, if I show anger, I get punished, they get mad at me. So they start shutting down their emotional world and try to be happy all the time. But what they're doing is murdering part of themselves, saying that's bad. But then they go, I can't listen to my gut. I can't trust my gut.
Oh, it gets bad when you say that. The gut is the best thing ever to trust in some people, especially witches and Harry Potter types.
Because when I go around that uncle and I feel bad, my mom keeps pushing me and say, your uncle's fine, and then he sexually abuses me. But there's nothing I can do, so I'll shut that down. My needs are never getting met. I keep talking about them. So let's just start shutting down my needs. I don't need this. I don't need that. So you begin to shut down more and more of what makes you human. Then you go, I got to shut down my sensitivity. I got to shut down all of that parts of my personality that I don't like. I'm too talkative. I'm too unorganized. I hate. Shut down. Now, when you look in a person's eyes, you see the emptiness of their soul. They've shut down so much of them, it's like you're looking into a robot. There's no life there. There's just this empty black spot. And it's because they've had to shut so much down. So some have learned to compensate for that and mask all of that. And so you begin to see it in other ways. You see their difficulties sometimes in regulating their emotions. You see their shame show up in people pleasing, not setting boundaries, not respecting your boundaries, having trouble if you say no to them. They get all upset, or they can't say no to you. They need you to like them. Or they're just depends who they're with. They shift into this different persona, and it's like they're a chameleon. They can be whatever the group requires of them, but they don't know who they authentically are. And then they don't, all of their sense of having value is based on externals. It's based on their job, their money, who they know, their body, their brains, their possessions. And you go, they don't have any.
Isn't that what makes a human being? Isn't that what makes a sorry for talking so loud. I need to be isn't that what makes a human being what a human being is? Something like, no, I didn't make sense. Sorry, just trying to be funny. Compensation. No, I'm sorry. It just hurts, the things that are being said about me. It truly does.
Sense of inherent worth. And then they got to be busy all the time. They can't stay connected. So you just start seeing characteristic after characteristic.
I'm sorry, I really don't mean to be being at all this unpleasant. I just want to kind of listen to. I just want to keep myself busy, because he's right, to Mr. Tim Fletcher. It's very hard to be in the present, and it's just boring, and it's just something. And I just miss, I miss my friend. So pity me. I have trauma, so allow me to act a fool.
That this person is dealing with shame and not being present in ways that enabled them to survive in the past, but are really standing out now.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I know you mentioned before, like the perfect child, or these different roles that we play as children. What are the main ones, would you say? Can you describe them and how they manifest in adulthood?
Yeah. So it's the whole childhood roles has been broken down into 4 kind of main roles. So there's the hero child, or the perfect angel child. Then there's the comedian or the jester child. Then there's the invisible or lost child. And then there's the problem child, or the scapegoat. And so what's important to understand is you've got a child whose needs aren't being met, who's got pain because of that, who's being hurt because they're not being loved, respected, accepted, seen, heard, validated. All of their core emotional needs aren't being consistently met. So in the child's mind, it's my fault. I just need to change. If I adapt, I can fix the problem. It's on me to fix the problem. They can't fathom, or even their brain can't allow them to fathom that mom and dad might have their own problems, and mom and dad might even be very screwed up, because they need mom and dad to be solid. They need mom and dad to be heroes, because they couldn't deal with the reality and pain of the people caring for them being very unhealthy. So there's
I
a
was
level
gonna
of
ask, why
There's
do
a
we
level of-
always take responsibility?
yeah, so there's a level of denial about mom and dad's role. It's all on me, it's all my fault. I'm the one that has to change if this is going to be fixed. So depending on the child, the personality, what they might get validated for, they will try different roles and then settle on one that seems to work the best. And in some cases, depending who they're with, they'll switch into different roles. So the hero child usually is the one that gets validated quickly for being responsible, for taking care of mom and dad, for being very compliant, for conforming to the rules, for being super responsible, for never saying no, for always pleasing everybody, for always being sweet, for never being needy, for never being too out there, for being a hard worker. All of that in our culture gets validation, validation, validation. So the kid goes, wow, this is working. I am finally getting love and respect, and people are looking up to me. So I am going to be this hero child. The
Sounds
problem
like
is
the oldest child.
often.
Yeah.
Often. Problem is when you get to adult life, you burn yourself out. And deep down, you have a deep anger and resentment that you're caring for everybody else and nobody's caring for you. You're taking care of everybody else's needs. Nobody sees your needs or cares about your needs. So but to get out of it, then you go, I couldn't do that. I couldn't give it up, because then nobody would validate me. Nobody would see me or respect me. So they feel trapped in this prison almost, that I have to continue to try to be this people pleaser, perfectionist, conforming to the rules person. So that's number one. Number two is the comedian, who their response to all the anger in the family, the hurt in the family, and to try to get their, so they're going to try to fix the family and try to get their needs met, is to get everybody to like them. And to always be light and funny. And so if we're laughing all the time, then we'll feel close, then we won't be fighting, then we won't be arguing. And everybody's going to look up to me because I'm the funny guy that's always got a good story, and I'm going to have lots of friends and get validation, and I'm going to be popular, and that's where they go. But then they get to adult life and try to have an intimate relationship, and they can never be serious. They can never get real. They can never go deep into their own stuff because they got to keep it light. They got to keep it funny. They hate conflict. They run from conflict. So they never resolve problems. They just try to gloss over problems with humor. So that's number two. And then number three is the invisible child or the lost child. And they're the one that says basically, I'm going to become super small so that I'm never a burden. I'll never put my needs out there. I'll never have a big personality. I will hide out in my room. I will serve everybody behind the scenes quietly, or I will isolate and be totally invisible. So I'll be a flower on the wall as long as I'm not noticed, and asked to do anything that would put me on display. So if you look at a complex trauma family that's very unhealthy, and those are the three kids that you have, a spectator would come and say, wow, what a wonderful family. You must be wonderful parents. Look at these three children. This one never makes any demands. They're so giving. This one is so responsible. This one is funny and is always pleasant. This is a perfect family. Meanwhile, you got three kids trying to survive a very sick family. So that's where the fourth one, the scapegoat or the problem child, they're the only one that refuses to go into denial. They're the only one that refuses to be dishonest about their needs not being met, that there's a lot of unhealthy stuff and anger and hurt happening in this family. And so they refuse to conform. They refuse to keep their voice quiet. But the problem is now they're considered to be defiant, rebellious, not appreciative, don't have gratitude, you don't know how good you've got it. And everybody now looks at them and go, wow, you'd have a wonderful family if it wasn't for that one kid. That one kid is why your family is struggling. So that makes them the scapegoat now. All of the problems of the family are now blamed on that child. And that child gets an identity out of that. They almost, in their mind, are proud that they stand up to all this corruption and all of this abuse of authority. So now when they get to adult life, they feel they need to maintain that defiant attitude to everything. And so they turn into this identity, even when they're with safe people, even when they're in healthy relationships. They still got to be defiant.
That is fascinating, and I can definitely see, even in my own life, how people around me and myself included, like have different roles and grew up. And, with the comedy child, like the funny child you mentioned, like they're really scared of like being boring, or like people, if they don't crack a joke, people won't like them. And like then you've got the people pleaser, and then I could also associate in my head like, oh, this is the oldest child usually, or this is the middle child, or the youngest child. Very, very interesting.
Good. Yeah, and what I want people to know is that child was trying to survive. They weren't going, I'm looking for a way to mess up my life in 30 years, so I am going to adopt these roles that will eventually lead to nothing but trouble. No, this is a child that's so overwhelmed by hurt and their needs not being met that their brain is just desperate to try to find a place to get to safety where they feel a bit safer and survive. So it's so important for people to realize that the correct answer when you see this stuff in yourself is to not beat yourself up. And not go, oh, wow, you really screwed up. That's terrible. You're terrible. No, don't beat up the child that's trying to survive in a very difficult surrounding. Understand why they had to. And understand that the tools that let them survive no longer work today. You need to learn new tools today, not beat up the child.
Absolutely, such an important message. And the whole point of like self-development, self-love, self-acceptance is like accepting yourself. So beating yourself up is not a good strategy into self-development, self-growth, self-acceptance. And you've touched on shame as well. Why do people who've experienced trauma have this really intense feeling of shame?
So to me, there's two levels to this, Francesca, because most people, when they think of shame, think of the emotion of shame. And there is an emotion of shame. And that's really what most cultures have focused on, is you should be ashamed of yourself. So shame-based cultures is you don't do certain things because it'll bring shame to mom and dad. It'll bring shame to the family. And so we understand the feeling of shame. But the question that to me is so important for people to understand is, where does that emotion come from? Emotions don't just happen, they're because of something else. And so it really gets to, shame as an emotion is actually a secondary definition of shame. The true deep definition of shame is actually a core belief that I'm not good enough. I don't deserve love. I have to earn love. I am not lovable. I don't have value in myself. If something goes wrong, it must be my fault. So that core belief, why I highlight that is because for most people that is totally subconscious. So let's say you look at a young girl that was neglected, sexually abused, and so she develops a deep, I don't like myself, I'm not lovable. Anybody that's attracted to me is going to want to use me and not just love my soul, they only love my body. But she is pretty, she gets lots of validation for her looks. So she's adored by everybody at school because she's the prettiest girl in the school. So if you were to go up to her and go, do you have shame? She'd go, no, I don't have shame. I feel good about myself. So she's equating shame as just being, because I don't have the emotion at the moment, I don't have shame. What she doesn't realize is she is controlled by shame. Her whole point of not having shame emotions is I have to keep myself pretty and the prettiest and attractive, and I got to learn to flirt and learn to be good in bed so that I always feel good about myself. So she is looking to others to validate her for her to be able to feel good about herself. That's always a sign.
Sorry, Carl. No, today no, it's okay. Today no. I don't need to clean my room. My room is clean today.
Sign of shame, because I don't
I would go
naturally have
outside.
good feelings for myself. I have to
You know
perform.
what'll help with going out, just so my body conforms. I don't want these hairs here to be blonde. I'm ashamed of my Caucasoid self.
To get others to validate me. And I will perform in either position, power, brains, looks, body, whatever, because I don't inherently feel good about myself as is. So that shame to me is what comes out of all complex trauma, is that deep negative self-identity that operates in the subconscious. And that's why when I do a series or a seminar on shame, people come and go, I don't have shame. By the end of it, they go, oh, I didn't see how much shame I actually have. And it's because they just think of it as an emotion and they don't see that core thing or see that it's been in their subconscious since a child.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially what you mentioned, like girls feeling like, oh, I need to be pretty, or I need to flirt, or I need to get guys' attention. And, you know, same way for guys, like, oh, I need to get loads of girls, or I need to achieve this to be good enough.
Exactly.
And yeah.
So to me, it's just for people to realize we've done a whole series on it, but it's a core. I would say it's kind of the ground zero for the damage done from complex trauma, because it reshapes your core identity from a positive to a negative, and that then affects everything you do in life, every relationship you enter into. So a person with a positive self-identity, when they go into a relationship, they go in as an equal. My needs matter just as much as yours. If you don't respect me as much as I respect myself, I'm out of here. And so that is their whole approach to relationships. A person with shame, they go, I have to earn love. I am not lovable. So I am going to go into a relationship deep down feeling that I better please you if you're going to take care of me. I better put my needs aside and put your needs in the forefront if you're going to like me. So what you've done is you've set up a relationship that's imbalanced. And it's because of shame. And so it leads to codependent type relationships where I am trying to get you to like me so you'll meet my needs. I am not going and going, my needs are already met. I'm not having this relationship based on need. I'm having this relationship based on I'm looking for companionship and I'm looking for connection. It goes at it with a totally different motivation behind relationships.
And I'm curious, what is the difference between shame and low self-worth, or are they the same thing?
They're basically the same. Low self-worth is kind of so low self-esteem and all of that, back in the 80s became kind of a buzz term. But if I could make a distinction that might be helpful, I think when many people use the word shame, they actually, as an emotion, they actually mean guilt. So the distinction around shame and guilt is often very important for people to understand. So guilt is really a healthy system It's like this internal alarm system that every time I do something that violates love, so I tell a lie, I cheat, I steal, there's a siren that goes off inside that makes me feel guilty. It's a very uncomfortable feeling. But what the point of it is it motivates me to get back to living in a loving way, to treat people with respect, to treat people the way I want to be treated. So guilt can be resolved. It's based on actions, doing stuff that violates love, and it creates guilt feelings. That often has been called shame. You should be ashamed of yourself because you just lied. But it's really guilt. Shame is all about that feeling based on identity. It's not about what I do, it's about who I am. So guilt's about what I do, shame is about who I am. Guilt I can resolve, shame I can't fix. How do I change who I am? To that child, that means that's impossible. So now I have to try and compensate for shame to get that feeling to go away. So I'll be the smartest kid in the class, the best athlete in the class, the richest, the most successful, the prettiest, whatever, but I'm constantly trying to compensate as my only way of knowing how to resolve it.
Yeah, that's such an important distinction about identity level and then behavior.
Exactly.
And what about people who feel like they're a burden in their relationships? Why is that?
So to me, it's very much a complex trauma shame thing again. So if you're neglected or abused and you go, it must be my fault. So why am I being neglected? Well, it must be because I'm too much. I'm too needy. If I get criticized every time I express a need, if I get told I'm selfish every time I have a need, if I ask for something and mom rolls her eyes like, or mom sighs, I feel like a burden all the time for having needs, for being alive, for being in this relationship. And so what the child does, again, to compensate, to adapt, is I will take care of everybody else's needs and not have any needs of my own. Because if I have needs, I will be a burden and people will reject me. And so it's very much that shame thing that having a need makes me a burden. What people don't realize, and this is the other side of the equation. So that's what's happening in a child. A child is only concluding that because they're with unsafe people who are being narcissistic, where their needs matter more than the child. Because if the parent saw the child as an equal, that they truly...
I just want to be a child over here for a second. Be a child over here, my friend. Be a child over here. Be a child over here. Oh, let's just be a child and have. Let's just talk. Can we just talk? Let's just talk. Yes, it works. The microphone works. That means we can talk. Vaseline right here. Charging device right here. We need to make it social. Are you good? What? I'm okay. I'm just being manly. I'm just being a man. Are you sleepy? you. I'm just saying, like, wow. Come on. Wait. Watching me. Good. Good. Maybe smoking right now. You know how much fun we had doing that? It's so fun. Yeah. Why? What does it do to you? 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 Is it nice? It's a really good video, dog. Okay, where is it? You don't need any of that nonsense. That's bad. It's garbage. It's poison. Ew. Ew. Porn. Ew. Ah. Ew. What's going on here? Yo. Yo. see. I don't see. Nothing to it. How do you say here? How do you say popo? 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 Popo. How do you say? Fat? Fat is popo? Poem. A little bit of poem. Tan 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 tan. Shower me with acid. That is crazy, Stan. centimeter. What's 147 centimeter? One hundred and 47 centimeter. Small. Very, right? That's 14. 147 centimeter, 37 kilo. $37 kilo? Ah, yeah. Nauseous. Oh, you don't tell me anything, Stan. Not about new things, about old things. guy? King Kong? King Kong. Why you fight that guy? But why did you fight with him? A little bit. Night job. Does he have good money there? What's that? That's not fun. Do it again. Do it again. What was that noise? Look, what no? Yes, absolutely yes. Because I'm 100% straight. Because I'm straight, you know? Uh, because like I don't know. Stop making me rage. Don't make me shout. Come on. What's that? Oopsie daisies. Oh, time to have a cigarette outside. on things that are not unmanly, unmanly